How do we engage as coaches with greater and greater complexity? And that means, as a professional body, EMCC has got to be representative of that, has got to actually help us to move into the world of greater and greater complexity. You may have read of this unpronounceable model, the Cunifin model, but what we're seeing is that back in the 1990s, most of the issues that people had brought to coaching were simple issues or complicated, or somewhere in between. When we got it in the last, so between the turn of the century and towards the end of the 20s, they were becoming complicated and complex. Now, you might be experiencing issues yourself with your clients. The majority of issues that people are bringing to coaching are somewhere between complex and chaotic. So we have to develop or maintain the capacity to address issues at that level, where there is no answer, and if there was an answer, it would be changed by tomorrow anyway. And so engaging with complexity, becoming more and more able to leave the linear stuff behind. The linear stuff is what the basic level coaches or the process-based coaches can work with. But we're now dealing with something much, much bigger. And so when we think about it, all those things on the left are what we see in linear thinking. And this is where most executives are. One of the studies that we did for the conference board found that HR directors were saying anything up to a third, or in a couple of cases higher than that, of their most senior 200 or 300 executives were basically obsolete. They could not let go of command and control, and they could not think systemically. What a wonderful opportunity for us as coaches. But we have to engage with this. So our offering has to be about helping organisations engage both at individual level and collective levels with complexity. We are complexity merchants, if you like, now. And that's a completely different place to be than where we started in the 1990s. So some of you may have seen this model, which basically comes from work that we did with assessment centres for coaches 20 years ago. And what we observed was coaches had 4 different mindsets. They either did coach at the beginning, they did coaching to people, so they made them fit their model. Then they did coaching with people. And then many of them left all that behind, and they moved from doing coaching to being a coach, to integrating who you are with what you do as a coach. And then these wonderful coaches, and there's more, we have more and more of these, but this is where we need to be at as a profession. We basically help people have the conversations that they need to have with themselves. We hold the space. We're not doing coaching, we are being present and allowing the person to do the thinking for themselves. This is a million miles away from the process-based approaches that we've seen in the past. So the Coach Maturity Research Group, this is a bunch of us where we've been, and with a bunch of us, including Bob Garvey, and some of you will know Bob Garvey, and I just heard today, so I can be delighted to say that Bob has been extremely ill, and he's just had the all clear on his cancer. So those of you who know Bob, I'm sure will be delighted to hear that. But basically, these are some of the things that we see, that it's not a nice, neat path to becoming a coach. It's all about, a reflection is fundamental. We think about our experiences, we have supervision. We actually, and that's why the EMCC process for accreditation is much more focused on the quality of the reflection that you do, not on how you can demonstrate you follow a particular technique or tool. And so this quality of your reflection is what helps you become a mature coach. Letting go of stuff, letting go of the need to have goals. Goals are often what emerge from the coaching, at the end of the coaching, not what you start with. Letting go of the idea that you've got to help the client find a solution during the coaching session. Why? If they're an intelligent person, why don't you leave them with some questions they can think about, and they come to their own conclusions? Why do we have to make them do it in the session? So All of these things. Why coaches coach? Why do we coach? What's the point of it? Is it just we just want to make some money, or is it, why do we do it? I mean, I would very much doubt that there's a single person in this room who coaches because they want to get rich on it. And so what is it? What is it? The fundamental drive that makes us want to do this? And then, how do we find our support network on the journey? This is a support network. It's why we come to the conferences. It's how we come with like-minded people. Doing less to achieve more. The harder we're working, the more likely it's not to be decent coaching. In fact, we often say, if you know where the conversation's going, you're not coaching. And so forth. And this sense that comes through the research, the sense of becoming, the sense that you are evolving into somebody else. You don't know quite who or what it is you're becoming, but it's happening to you, and you are relaxed enough on the journey to let the current take you where it will. These are all marks of a mature coach. And so, some of the things we see, an AI can express sympathy. It can do it very, very well. It's got all the nice phrases they can trot out. You can't feel anything. But look at the difference between empathy with a person and empathy with the person in their situation. But the mature coaches, empathy with the whole system. Yeah. You have problems with one of your direct reports. As a real coach, we empathise with everybody who's involved in this situation. This is a fundamental difference, or one of many fundamental differences. So in our latest book, which we've just delivered a couple of months ago, we've been looking at levels of complexity. And it's because it's so complex, it would take a couple of hours to go through this, but I'm not going to do that. But to give you an idea, you're coaching somebody for some skills or performance. Very basic level stuff. You can even achieve that with the growth model. But the more complex it gets, the more you have to be, the more mature you have to be, the more systems aware you have to be. And just picking up some of these, if you think about coaching leaders to create the coaching culture in their team, it's a wonderful thing to do. One of the things I often do myself, I ask the team leader, would you be willing to be coached by me in front of your team? Scary. And then if they agree to that, and we do this, and then we get the team members to feedback. Because we're creating psychological safety there. But then we say, would you be willing to be coached by a member of your team while I keep the safe space? Here we're creating, or helping the team leader to create a totally different culture in their team. And these are the kind of tools and techniques that we have. And we work all the way through coaching the team and the team leader together, coaching in various guises, through coaching teams of teams, which I'll say something about in a minute, all the way through to coaching the meta system. And when we coach the meta system, the example we typically give, think about these countries which are fighting each other over, literally or otherwise, over water resources. Yeah. In those conflict situations, the ones with the biggest guns usually wins, and the others lose out. But what if you actually if everybody in the system understands the system, and you can redesign the system together? And what we're seeing is lots of examples now, growing numbers of examples, particularly in climate change and the biosphere, of just doing that, coaching everybody in the system to understand the system so that they can collectively use a coaching approach to come to a conclusion that benefits everybody. We don't necessarily have a nice big tool book, or even we don't have accreditations for all these levels. Thank goodness. But we do have, I hope, the aspiration to achieve more. Every level that we go up here, we are adding greater value to the world. And isn't that what we want to do as coaches? We add value to the world around us. So part of the vision that I personally have is that coaches increasingly learn how to add more and more value by engaging with greater and greater complexity. I think it's a wonderful vision, a wonderful aspiration to have. So when we look at the way that coaches work, you're model-based coach, you're big leader. You see the client, they've got a problem, let's have a solution. Bingo! Have nothing clever. But you go through here, you know, maybe when you start to give the client more control, they go from the client, is trying to understand the situation, then you look at their values. And then they might find a solution. Notice that the growth model doesn't appear in here at all. Then at the next level, you think about the client, and then the client in their